All right. Well, now we're going to talk about movement in more detail, and I'm just going to demo it again. I'm not going to go through the slides. The slides are there as a forever resource. I'll link them in the description of the video, and that's a slower walkthrough where you walk through at your own pace. I'm just going to, in the video, kind of use a lot of useful movement blocks and highlight some tricks I've learned over the years. Okay, so here we jump into a new project. Okay, I'm going to say when I click the flag, something starts. Often as a beginner, we're just going to use the forever loop. So as a beginner, something I might do is, before I even do that, let's just try out two different blocks here, okay? I'm at 0, 0, right? I can click this and make sure I'm at 0, 0. Notice that if I say go to 100, 0, and I click it, it happens instantly, right? And then I go to 0, 0. It happens in a split fraction of a second that you can't even see. It's just they're in one spot, then they're in the other. There's no journey that you can see with the eye. So if you want to actually see movement, rather than saying, I want to move 100 steps and clicking it, instead what we're going to do, and so when I click the flag, I'm going to go to the center. Instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to say move a smaller number of steps. And so and let's not even use forever to start, let's use something like just repeat like 100 times. So the difference between this and just doing move 100 steps, they do the same thing in the end, right? The end result is you've moved 100 pixels in the direction you're facing. But the big difference is if I click this, it does that in one single execution, in one single fraction of a second. However, when I do it repeat 100 times, move one step, it does it much slower because there's 100 single increments of go one step, go one step, go one step, and the computer is executing those in order. Now, I could adjust the speed of this by just coming up with any two numbers that multiply to make 100. So we could instead go 20 times at 5 steps, because if I repeat 5 steps 20 times, I will have moved 100. But notice how much quicker that was than this, right? Because I'm doing only 20 steps, so it takes about a fifth of the time to execute that. I could just as easily also say, repeat, I don't know, 5 times steps of 20, and we'll see if we can even see that happen. Let's see. Yeah, we did. It was just much quicker, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat, and basically the number of steps I'm moving, which can be a decimal, even though it's drawn at a pixel location, it mathematically keeps track of decimal speed, just rendering it at the closest pixel location. That helps you adjust speed more smoothly. You're not stuck with 1, 2 discrete numbers. So I'm going to say forever move at like, I don't know, 3 steps. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an if statement in there. And I'm going to say if, no, actually there's a custom block for this. Let's just use that as a beginner. So if on edge, bounce. Okay, so I'm going to start that, and I'm just going to leave that going forever in the background. So boom, hit the edge, bounce back. Okay, so that's one sprite. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another sprite. So I could duplicate this one, which would have the picture and the code, or I can make a new turtle, or I can make a new one that I draw myself, or I could make a new sprite with a picture. I'm going to go ahead and make one with the camera, because why the heck not? There's my beautiful face, so we'll go... and there I am. So now I can, with that object, do anything I want. So I'm going to call this Mr. D. Over here, I'll call this Turtle, because that's all it is, right? And so over here, Mr. D, the very first thing I'm going to do is for looks, I'm going to shrink that a lot. So I'm going to say whenever the flag is clicked, I want to set the size. So this is under looks, not sound. So under looks, you can set the size. So I'm going to say maybe set it to like 25%. And so that's a much smaller thing. So what I want to do now is I maybe want to just move around in a little square. Let's patrol in a square. So kind of like we did in the last video, I'll do something like forever. I don't know, let's go to the top leftish corner. So maybe like negative 180, positive, I don't know, 120. So that's like 60 pixels from each side. And then I'm going to start moving. Let's go a little faster than the other. Oh, sorry. I will only go there once, not forever. And then I will just start moving 10 steps at a time. And let's see. What should I do? Maybe let's do repeat some number of times. So remember, instead of saying I want to go like 360, because that would happen too quickly, instead what I want to do, and let's actually make this a square. So let's say negative 120. So we're going to do 240 pixel square that we're going to move. So we're going to start up here in the left, and we're going to go boom, 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 boom in a square, like patrolling the corner. My big thumbs up patrolling. Instead of doing the 240, which is going to be too fast, and then doing a turn 90 degrees, what I'm going to do instead is break this up, and I'm going to say repeat some number of times where these multiply to make that. So let's repeat, let's move 10 steps and repeat that 24 times and then turn 90 degrees. So instead of teleporting 240 degrees, I'm going to move 240 degrees more quickly. Now look at that, that's too fast. So let's change these two numbers. So I'm going to pause it. I'm going to say instead, let's come up with different numbers. So I'm going to do 5 and 48. I can do that multiplication in my head where I double this and half of this. So that's going to be at about, whoops, let's click this. We didn't reset the direction. Notice how I have a turn in here and I didn't reset the direction. That's what led me to going off the screen. So you always need to reset your direction. Okay, so here we go. That's a little slower. Now, I don't like my picture rotating, so I have some options. Right up here next to my sprite, I could say that it can rotate completely what it's doing, or I can say it can only rotate left and right, which is like symmetry. So notice it just flips left and right, and that's all the picture does. That's not really what I want right now. What I want is to lock it in and don't rotate it at all. So the picture always looks like that. Even though the direction is different, the image doesn't rotate with the direction. I could do the same thing with my turtle. So for my turtle, I could click on it and I could say, you know what? I don't want my turtle to be able to rotate. So now it slides back and forth. However, I like it flipping back and forth. So I can click this middle one, or I could let it rotate freely and go in any direction. All right, so let's make another sprite now that goes in maybe a more circular thing. So I'm gonna just draw a super beautiful magenta smiley face. Oh yeah, look at this smiley face. Oh yeah, and you need a triangle for a nose because I made jack-o'-lanterns as a kid, and this is a vampire smiley face too, so there we go. Oh, and it's got some funky little hair too, why not? All right, so there's my face. I should always check a center. So I want the center to be in the middle of the nose. That's my center of my sprite. Okay, so there's my sprite. It's a little big. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna say, right when I start this sprite, let's set its size a little smaller. So let's set its size maybe to like 50% of that. No, let's go 40%. I want it a little big. There we go. And I want this to kind of go in a circle. So again, I'm going to say when the flag's clicked, I'll give it a starting location. So let's say the starting location is kind of just up high. So let's say like 160 towards the top. And let's start it pointing to the right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a forever. And I'm going to do just like move a little, turn a little. And we'll see how this goes. I'm just kind of making up numbers here. So let's just say like move 1 and turn 1. Let's see what happens there. That's a cool circle, but that is way too small. Let's say move 4. And let's see how big that circle goes. So let's start it again. Oh yeah, that was pretty close. Let's say 3. And again, you can do decimals. So, oh yeah, look at that motion. It's swinging right around the center. That's pretty cool. So we could do this, and I could even do move -3. And so now when I click this, whee! Oh, right, I'd have to point it in a different direction. So let's do +3. But we can do any motion in here, right? So a couple other things you might want to do is like maybe I actually want to go to my dude that's patrolling, and I'm just going to garbage all this. So I'm going to take all this code. Actually, I'll leave the top. I'll just garbage this bottom forever. Okay, let's throw that in the garbage. Let's stop this program. Let's click the green flag. And what I want this one to do is actually be under my control. I want to, oh, I grabbed the wrong one. I want to control him. So I'm gonna say at the beginning, I'm gonna go to 0, and at the bottom, I'm gonna go like -100. So when I click this, he's down there. But I wanna be able to move him left and right, and maybe even jump. So what I'm gonna do as a beginner, again, this is not the way we'll do this later on, But as a beginner, you could say when this key is pressed, okay? So when I press the right arrow, I'm going to do something. And so what am I going to do? I don't know. Let's say, let's change the X by. Now I could say move, but then I'd have to point in the direction. So instead, I'm going to just change the one thing I want to change. If I want my guy to move right, instead of assuming or resetting the direction and moving in that direction, I only want to move right. So that's change X by. Now, if you were like bird's eye view driving a car, oh, you want to keep track of that direction and use the direction. Forward's driving in whatever direction your car is facing, and right and left is changing direction. And we could actually do that in a second. So let's start with this. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to say when the left arrow is pressed, then change by -10. And better would have a variable called speed that we'd have here so we can adjust it, right? We don't have that right now. And then I'm even going to put a little jump here. So when I press space bar, now a really easy jump would just be something like, whoops, I want to go to motion. Just change Y by. So wherever you are, change Y by some number, and then change Y down by that number. But that's going to happen so quick. You won't even be able to see it. So instead what we do is we could really quickly go, hey, let's go up and then down, but let's do it in steps so our human eyes can see it. So I don't know, sure, 10 and 10, and then let's do 10 steps to go down, and we'll just go in -10 direction. Okay, so let's hit start, and now if I hold right, oh, look at that, I can go to the right. If I hold left, and I can jump, oh, not up, it's space, choo, choo, choo. Now, because of the way we coded it, I can't move while I'm in the air. It stops sensing. So we're going to do a better job of this later. But that's a cool start. Okay, so now let's actually drive a car. Let's see if there's an image of a car, okay? So let's make a new sprite. It's just a turtle. Okay, we got a lot going on in this. And I'm going to go up here to costumes. And I wonder if there's a bird's eye view of a car or a vehicle. Let's see if there's a bird's eye view of anything fun, okay? Oh, there's an arrow. We could drive an arrow around. Who hasn't always wanted one of those fancy arrow cars? I have. When you say arrow car, it sounds like you're talking about like an aeronautical flying in the air car. Ooh, a bus, but it's side view. We don't want a side view. Oh, a side view of a car. No bird's eye view stuff. Oh, a little crabby. We could be a little crabby. Let's drive the crab around. Okay, so here we go. All right. So this direction's going to be a little off because, you know what? Let's not use this. Let's draw our own because the direction's going to be wrong here. His direction that he seems to be facing is up, but actually this is 90 degrees. Like if I say over here, oops, if I go to motion and go point in direction up and click it, that's him pointing up because his right is always going to be the wrong direction for up. They're not going to match. So instead, let's draw our own sprite. So let's go into costumes and let's trash this one here. And let's call this race car, okay? And I want to go ahead and draw it. So I want to draw a fancy red race car, and it's going to be a rectangle with, I don't know, like a circle at the end. Like here's my, oh yeah, look at that race car. And it's going to have some black wheels on it right here and here and here. Whoa, look at these awesome wheels. And then it's going to have like a racing tail that's, I don't know, like pink. And this is what like a racing tail looks like right there. Oh yeah, look at that. And maybe it'll even have like a nice light red kind of like window. So let's do a nice like window right here. Look at this. Oh yeah, look at that window. Oh yeah, maybe even like some windows on the side, or maybe it's a racing stripe, whatever you think. Okay, look at that race car. It's amazing. Oh, you know what we should add? We should just add some quick flames coming out the back. Ready? And then let's add some orange in there, and then and maybe some yellow. Look at this flame. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. What? Oh, that's more of a green than a yellow, but whatever. Okay, so there's my race car. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to say at the start, okay? Oh, let's go at the start, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these. So there's a couple ways you can do this. First is you can stop the program. Second is you could tell them to go really far away. You could actually just go to looks and go to hide this sprite, right? You don't even need to use it in your code. You can just click on hide. I could drag this over to the Mr. D and I could go hide. I could drag this over. Oops, I didn't drag it over. I could drag it over to my face and go, let's hide. So now I only have a race car, but all my code and all the other things are still there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is for the race car, I'm gonna say when the program starts, let's say go to the bottom middle, because we're gonna start driving up, okay? And we're gonna point up. So bottom middle would be something like this, okay? So boom, it's pointed up. Let's make them smaller. That's too big of a car, won't be able to drive around very much. So let's go 40%. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's start a little higher so we can see that that flaming tail. Oh yeah, look at that car. So here are the sort of controls you could do then for this. You could say when the up arrow is pressed, then you could say move some steps, right? In whatever direction you're currently facing. So right now we're facing up, but we'll turn. Then we could say when the right arrow is pressed, we could turn a little bit to the right. So we could turn, let's say, I don't know, 3 degrees. Again, this is where you'd use a variable to say turn speed. So I'll put a left arrow over here. Now you got 2 options. You could either turn right -degrees, or you could turn left 3 degrees, whichever one works for you. Okay, let's see how this thing drives. But again, because of the way we're using the when key pressed, we don't get smooth driving. If you want to get smoother driving, then what we need to do is get rid of these when pressed, and instead what we'll do is we'll go when clicked, which we already have out there, we will forever use if blocks. So this is, we're going to do these same things right here, but we'll have a loop that has no stops or wait times in it, but is always checking what buttons you're pressing. And if you're pressing buttons, it's updating things. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna say, okay, in this loop, we're gonna have 3 ifs. And each if is gonna say, if we're pressing a key, then do something. So this one is gonna be if, and the key is the up arrow is pressed. Whoa, I just clicked down. So if the up arrow is pressed, move 5. And then we're gonna duplicate that. And instead it's if the right arrow is pressed, I trash that, and I'm gonna use the turn right. And then I'm gonna duplicate that. And again, we're gonna use this. We could have done turn -degrees, but I'll just put that in there. So if we press left. So now I don't want these to work, so I'm gonna break them apart. So nothing happens when I press the right or left, but I'm just leaving them there for myself. So now I'm gonna click, and now, notice how much smoother that motion is. Oh yeah, what a cool race car. It looks like a hot dog rat, but it's awesome. So smooth, yeah. Okay, and I could change the turn speed. Maybe that turn speed wasn't enough, so let's do 4 and 4, and let's try it again. And now let's see, oh, way tighter turns, that's awesome. So maybe I could even try 5, maybe that'll be way too sharp a turns, that'll be crazy. People be flying out the window. Oh, dang, that's sharp turns. I liked 4 better. You could even do something like 4.5 for those turn values. We could speed the car up to be like 7 fast. So, whoa, and I can drive out of the screen and come back if I'm not lost. I got lost. Okay, well, let's try it again. I'll drive out of the screen and back in. Out of the screen and back in. Out of the screen. Yeah, not lost. Okay, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That's just some of the different motion blocks you can use and how to do it. Again, try and not make any assumptions. So at the beginning, if you're changing direction and position, reset those at the beginning. The other thing too is try not to, like for example, if you want to jump, you only want to change the Y value. So instead of saying like go to position and manually saying change the X and the Y, if the jump is only supposed to change the Y position, then use just the change by Y. Don't hard code both. only change the one thing you want to change, okay? And then you can always check your position with these buttons here, and you can even show them on the screen. So as I'm driving around, see all the decimals that's keeping track of for your position. So, and even the direction is in decimal sometimes. Yeah, woohoo, woo! Okay, hope you enjoyed that video. Good luck with your first projects.